Opus 4.5 has just come out, along with ChatGPT 5.1 Codex Max, and it's also currently available pretty much in all platforms. My last live stream, I was trying it in Cursor. I was also trying it in Droid. And what we were doing in the last live stream, we were comparing the plans that each of these apps actually generated, or these AI agents. And in this case, we were checking the ones in Cursor, which were here, and we got to review these plans as I'm showing you here. And I was also doing them in Cursor. So we did the Opus 4.5 plan, GPT 5.1 Max, and we did also different flavors of low and high, just so that we can get a sense of how thorough things would be. The determination, if you're just kind of wanting the TLDR here, is the fact that there was a difference between what we did in Cursor for spec/planning mode and also the difference in Droid. And for using Codex 5.1 Max inside of Cursor for planning, there was a task that I wanted to do for research to actually grab files, and it never actually did that. It did like initial scan, and it was kind of it. Inside of Droid, it actually went a lot further and scanned every single file and just continued through the task until it finished. And then it had enough context to do research, because what I'm going to be doing today is going to be using the AISDK V5. So I'm migrating RayTranscribes backend to the AISDK V5. And what I'm doing right now is I already did a big rewrite where I did everything and put it up on using Vercel Blob and also Convex for the backend. So everything's super fast and super reactive. I am now able to transcribe 6-hour live streams in under 2 minutes. And a normal hour video can be done in less than like 30 seconds, which is actually kind of insane how fast it is. But the other thing that we get on top of that is the accuracy of everything. So that's the whole point. The reason kind of why I'm doing this in a couple of phases is because I want to make sure I want to stay on top of reliability. I have existing customers who are already using this type of thing. So you can even reprocess transcripts, because now I'm using the Vercel Blob. And so it's extremely fast. So if I wanted to use this type of thing here, now we're having this whole live stream, I think it was 3 hours being reprocessed right now. And the reprocessing doesn't even take that long, because everything's already ready to go. It's sending it over to the actual provider and then bringing back the transcriptions. And you can kind of see here, I'll show you how long this file is. If I go to edit, and this is another feature that I added recently, is the fact that I can edit the transcripts. And so it's basically loading the whole transcript right now into the browser. It's super fast and performant. We have a 2-hour live stream that we just reprocess in the transcription on a different model. And this is how insanely fast it is, and this is why it's great. So as you can see, there's a lot of infrastructure already in place to handle these moving pieces. And I found a lot of success using, all these different models, but more specifically, Droid right now is kind of winning out. And I want to just kind of take you through these workflows, because it is a little bit different way of using the agents if you're not really used to it. I can stay in one session for millions of tokens, which is kind of crazy, fix bugs, keep shipping features, and it still has a higher level understanding. And so I want to kind of get started here and kind of kick off with some of the plan stuff that I already got going on. So as far as the plan, the ones from ChatGPT 5.1, I'm not going to use them, because while they were okay, the most comprehensive one that I felt was really useful from the previous live stream was the one I did with Opus. And it pretty much did the AISDK V5 migration plan here. Check the look at the files, directory structure, here are the interfaces, and then it's even asking me additional questions for what we were going to go ahead and discover here. So this is a chill live stream. Let's just go ahead and hang out and code with each other. Big shout outs to folks who are just kind of lining up, kind of hanging out here. You're going to see a little bit of how I do my prompting and things. It's just going to be a really fun live stream of just kind of implementing things. Yeah, because this is live, just feel free to drop in. We're just going to hang out. Hopefully you learn some things too. And let's go ahead and get cooking, folks. So let's see what we have here. I'm going to make sure I just kind of get rid of these other ones. And I also have, the way that I do my development is I don't commit to the main branch. I tend to create little feature branches and stuff like that. So right now I'm currently on main because I just shipped this massive feature. You can see it was like, I think a bunch of commits over a bunch of days. And so what I'm going to do is just going to go ahead and create a new branch from this new branch from main. And I'm going to call it feature / AI SDK V5 migration. Okay. Check out the branch. Cool. So this one's already merged. And then here's the other one here. I'll clean this up in a little bit. I just kind of want to move here. And do I have something already in my working copy? Yes, I have an integration plan. Is this from, where is this from? I don't remember. Is this from Convex? Who did this? I don't remember where this came from. See, this is the confusing thing, but it's okay. So what I'm gonna do in Cursor is just gonna get rid of this panel, and then I'm trying to see if there is like, where did this get added from? This looks pretty cool. Switch provider. And so in my configuration, I have different retries for different things, and I don't think I was going to go with this configuration for the retry fallback stuff. But I think, where's the questions? Okay, open questions. Okay, so should the provider be user facing or always automatic? I think, okay, should the provider, and then provider specific features, premium providers. Okay, let's see, premium providers. Okay. Should we expose pricing tiers to users? I think this came from Droid. Okay. Ready to proceed. So let's just go ahead and kind of answer some of these questions. Let's go ahead and keep iterating on the spec. And then, all right, so we have Opus High here. And so let me just go ahead and answer some of the questions. So as far as provider section, should users see provider choice, or is it always automatic best effort? As of now, let's go ahead and give users a choice. But the way that we're going to organize it is going to be between premium models in a standard model. So the premium model is actually going to be the one that includes diarization and additional features that are coming from Assembly AI or DeepGram. In fact, we're just going to go with DeepGram for now, just to keep things simple, because they have a really good model for diarization. I think it's DeepGram, but that's okay. And then hit \enter 2 here. Do I think GPT 5.2 will be better than Opus 4.5? You know, I think I'm just going to go by whatever's live. So I would just tune in. As soon as this thing drops, we're going to be using GPT 5.2 live, and we're going to see how good or bad it is. And I'll just let the actual work speak for itself, if you know what I mean. So, hey, Arius, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Appreciate that. Isn't that 9.1 not 1? Correct. Yes, but because I'm answering the questions, it knows. It's pretty smart that I know, like, I'm answering back the questions in the context of everything, which is kind of nice. That's why I love language models. Howdy from Lithuania. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's so chill. Appreciate everyone kind of just vibing on the stream right now. We're just going to be shipping some crazy features. This is a massive feature, by the way. All the files that I have to touch for this migration is makes me sweat bullets a little bit, but it's okay. I'm doing everything in a feature branch, and the worst is I break everything. Which reminds me, I should probably back up my Convex database before I do anything. Provider specific features. Do you expose? Okay. So yeah. Yes, I do want provider specific features to be exposed. And I think we should reveal that in the UI so that when people select a premium model, we should probably have a tag or something that shows diarization is actual a feature that they can turn on or /want as well. In addition to this, we should also add a user preference and follow the Convex conventions, where we store that last selected model. That way the user doesn't always have to click to select different models if they're always using the same model over and over again. Okay. And then what's the other thing I want to do here is premium providers. Should OpenAI DeepGram be tier locked? Yes. Yes, OpenAI and DeepGram should be tier locked. As of now, we're just going to be doing DeepGram for the fallback. OpenAI will come later. Rate limit tracking per user, global state, in memory, or persistent. Global state. Okay. For rate limiting, since we're using Convex, we should just be able to do a query onto the backend and understand the current state for how we're dealing with rate limiting, you'll want to use ref MCP and execode MCP because there already is a Convex rate limiting component that we should be able to easily integrate without much issues. And that way we don't have to write a lot of code for this. Okay, let's see. All right, cool. Execode looks pretty good. And so for those who are wondering, I'm using Ghosty terminal. I got turned on to this by Eric Provencher of Repo Prompt. And so he's the one that kind of put me on to the whole thing with Ghosty. And ever since he told me about it, I was like, okay, I'll revisit this again. And yeah, it's actually kind of really, really nice. I think let's go ahead and Ghosty. All right, so that's all the feedback I have for now. I'm going to just let it do its thing. I'm going to say, I also noticed someone created a plan for the migration, and I don't think it's currently correct. So we'll have to also update that documentation there before we proceed. And then when I say there, I'm going to reference this file. So it's under documentation planned. You know what? I wonder if I'm in a work tree right now. Am I in a work tree? Hold on. I want to make sure I'm not in a work tree. I don't think so. Okay. Oh, I know why. Yes. So when I was using Cursor, what I ended up doing was when you create a new chat, you can have the ability to, when you create a plan, is to create work trees. So if you have that work tree thing enabled, what they're going to do is just going to go into Git and run the commands underneath the hood. So that's how I was able to run like 4 plans at the same time. And so that was really cool because now I was able to get 4 different perspectives all at once super fast. And I think what I did was when I created a new branch, it just goes back and it doesn't go to a default work tree. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove those right now just to make sure I don't mess up anything and I don't start committing code to some really weird area. So it's just a kind of like a thing about work trees here. So right now I created this new branch and I don't think it's based off of any work trees here. Yeah, these are current revisions. So I should just be able to just go and delete them, remove work tree. Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I use an app called Git Tower, and I love Git Tower because it just has this clickable. I could see what's in there super quickly. So remove work tree. Yeah. Okay. Remove contents. Yeah. Remove anyways. Yeah. I'm just removing everything now. Remove work tree because I already know that I'm moving forward with the plan from Droid, and that's kind of what we're doing that there. Okay. So remove work tree. Yes. Remove anyways. Okay. Cool. What happened? What happened? Oh, this is where the plan came from. It came from this work tree. Huh. Okay. So I'm just going to stash this plan for now. Stash. So if I stash the plan, what's nice is basically it just removes it from my current working folder and this will actually disappear. And yeah, we'll go back to our normally. And I'm just going to go back to here. Okay. AISDK V5 migration, remove work tree. Okay. All right. Removing work tree. And remove work tree. Cool. So yeah, that's just FYI. I clean up your stuff just in case something like this happens, and then you'll start to see any problems. All right. So we're now currently in our head, which is here in AISDK V5 migration. There's no more work trees that we're dealing with. And there's currently something that's here that's trying to land itself. I'm just going to stash this for now and just save stash. Okay. So I don't see, and you see how it deletes the file. Basically, we're just keep throwing it away in some ways, but we're going to keep it around just in case anything happens. And then here before submit, I'm just going to remove this real quick. Okay. Once we nail down our plan, we'll want to write the file. To write the plan in documentation planned. I think it's, yeah. So I have a planned folder and I want to just go ahead and just write that down just in case in the future I want to pick it off maybe with a different agent or something like that. So, okay, cool. So now we have everything here and I'm just going to go ahead and hit go. So, okay, cool. And so for those who are wondering, planning is the most important thing that you have to nail down, especially if you're working with these agents. Let's see. Authentication failed. Please log into factory and get the environment variable. Okay, so /login. Okay, login with factory. Let me just go ahead and see if I can kind of take care of some of these things here. Okay. I'm going to authenticate y'all. That's weird how it got unauthenticated. It must be like an update or something that got pushed. Okay, cool. Confirm. All right, you're all set. All right, cool. Now I'm Bizak. Let's go. Okay, so I should just say continue. Continue. Now that actually, yeah, I think I should be able to just continue with this. Yeah, I just hit up and just see what's up. Cool. Let's go. All right. So let me just catch up a little bit with the chat. Yo, thank you so much. Did you get their 2000? So this was super tempting. I'm not going to lie. If I had a team for sure, I would have just like instantly got this. But right now I'm barely using that $200 in or 200 million tokens. I have been shipping a lot recently, and I think I just barely crossed the threshold, but I'm also using other agents at the same time. I was telling someone about this because I use Claude Opus, like in Claude Code. I mean, I try everything. I kind of go around this circle, right? So Codex to Claude Code to Cursor to, and so I kind of do a full round trip with all the models, if you know what I mean, just to play around with it. Just joined the Discord. Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for joining the Discord. I appreciate you kind of hopping in there. I think you had a question also about like, there was like a trial period I had going on for a while and that kind of expired. So if you just send me a DM in the Discords or just send me a Discord, I'll reach out and take care of you, man. Because I know you've been a long time. So this guy has been following me since the very beginning of my live streams when I had 100 subscribers. And he is like the real MVP, like my first top 100 people. So Sarshar, I'll definitely take care of you. He's actually the first person who invested in my app. he spent like $10 and I said, hey, I have this prototype app for RayTranscribes. And, ever since then, it's, completely evolved to, putting in I had no database. It was literally just the app and it was locked behind Clerk. And I had a Stripe link and he was basically one of my first customers to test. So I'll take care of you for sure. I really appreciate you kind of showing up in the stream today. And since you're in the Discord, just send me a message and then we'll connect there. So that's what's up. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with Droid right now. Okay. So what does it say? Okay. So I did some more research and we have almost like a beautiful comprehensive plan. Okay. So now I have all the research needed. Let me create the refined spec and feedback included. Okay. So we have our tiers now. We have store the last selected model in the user's convex table. Perfect. They found the rate limiter component, which is nice. So now we have our standard plans, and then we have our deepgram plans, which is cool. Diarization, and then this could be like creator only, and then this would be for all tiers. And so now we have like these types of things where if there's a fallback chain, if there's a failures, I try other models, and then the premium fallback chain could be this for the failures. This looks pretty good. Awesome. I like these things. Here's the jobs table. I'm pretty familiar a little bit with the code base because I've been spending more time with it recently. So I'm kind of skimming through. But if you're not that familiar with your code base, you'll probably want to take a step through and ask more questions and just kind of go back and forth with these models just so that you understand the code that's going to be modified. Because here is just about making sure all these different pieces are laid out and making sure you have the requirements or specs and things that you have kind of clearly laid out. Because it's going to be helpful later on, even if you write the code or if another agent writes the code. Just having this as like something that you can do step by step is so useful. And these language models are really good now at finding all the stuff inside your code. So that's kind of the way I think about these things. So now I have a transcription models config, and then I have the premium tier now that it's going to go ahead and add. This is the convention that I have within my code base. So it's just going to continue to add those on. And then it's going to integrate the rate limiting convex component. This is something that has been out from Convex for a little while, but now you can actually author your own components. And it actually found the rate limited one because I remember there was one there called rate limiter. And so this is now going to install it into our app. And that way we'll have rate limiting set up. So there's like 10 jobs per hour, 30 jobs per hour. and then these concurrent things. So this is something that I'll probably have to tune in, but as long as we get this installed as a first step, we'll have that going. So that's kind of like something I have to keep in the back of my mind. I probably shouldn't. I should probably write it down, but that'll be into the future. Usage and transcription action. So this is how we're going to do the action call. So the action is going to be done on the Convex server side, and it's going to hit my endpoints. And it's going to basically hit them in this fashion right here. So it's going to figure out what tier we're at, and then it's going to see if we're rate limited or not, and then check the provider rate limit as well, and then come back. If we are good, then just go ahead and proceed or retry depending on the schedule, retry and other things. And then the rest of the code for transcription. I like this. AISDK implementation. Here we go. Cool. This looks pretty good. Here's a promise. So we have a 5-minute abort signal. Okay. A little too long, but whatever. I think it'll work. And then here's the deepgram provider. So we're going to use the new experimental transcribe from the AI SDK. And we're just going to call the model just through the dot notation. So that's pretty cool. And then we just enable this flag, which is great. And then, so I think for the language thing, this is something I want to work out to make sure I get the right language set, because I had some bugs around this, and I'll have to test around this phase as well. Basically, what I try to do is detect if there's like the file that you upload, I try to detect the language. And then from there, it kind of sets the language going forward, because a lot of these providers are really good at checking what specific language the transcription is. And that's kind of why I have the reprocessing part of it. So I'll see how this turns out. But at least I have this option available. So this is really cool. So user preferences. Okay, get user updates preferences. This looks good. This is a really simple thing. Just see what they've selected. And then the UI components. This is a really interesting part. So the model selection with tier badges are going to be set up here. So we're going to have, okay. Let's see. It should know that I have Tailwind v4, but it doesn't. Well, it kind of does and doesn't, but we'll see. Diarization toggle premium only. Okay. I like this. All right. So here we have foundation for week 1. Okay. We have everything set up. Is looking pretty good. Oh, and then there's a cleanup phase. Okay. I like this. Wow. Okay. This is a great plan. So open items are deferred, which is summarization feature, speaker labeling, UI, and transcript editor. Yeah, that's going to be a second one I want to take care of next. This is awesome. Premium tier analytics dashboard. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and just approve with high autonomy, friends. So are we ready to let the model cook? Before I do that, I just want to make sure I'm on the right branches and everything. I don't go to commit to... Oh, and then I'm going to back up my database. So here's what I do. Dashboard.convex.dev. It's really important to make sure your databases are backed up before you do anything like this, because I want to be able to revert to a previous working state in case some schema changes or something that I'm not really expecting. And the way I do that here is I go into my app, and then in the settings, there is a backup and restore section. So what's nice about it is I actually make sure you have these enabled for development and production. And so what I can do now, while it has the automatic backups, I'm just going to hit backup now. And then I can hit create backup. So what this is going to do is just going to create a backup for me here, and boom, it's already back up less than a minute ago. So if anything happens now that we're developing, I can always snap back to this specific part of the backup and just restore it. It's amazing. Convex is so great, and they just provide these things like built into their software. It's so cool. You could do this in production as well. So if you're going to do a production rollout, you want to make sure that you do create a backup before you roll out to production. Like, for me, as soon as I merge to the main branch, I'm going to create a backup just in case something happens. That way I can always have a working state. And so that is that there. And I think we're good. So let's go ahead and just let Droid rip in high autonomy. Let's go. Okay. I need to take a water here. Okay. So now that we're using Opus 4.5 high, and let me just go ahead and catch up a little bit with the comments. So the spec is approved. Let me save the documentation plan directory and then start the implementation. So now it's going to go ahead and create this file, and then we can review it later on. Do you know if you can use your Claude subscription, Droid? So they do not offer this capability directly from Droid, but there have been people who have set up these proxies. There's one called like Vibe Proxy from my buddy Coriolis who set it up. And then there's other types of, or Viber. I forget what the name of his app is called. There are other proxies as well that have stuff available, but keep in mind, the proxies are not like a supported API use case. So Anthropic may actually ban your account if they feel that your API is being used too much from another provider or whatever it is, because they'll try to detect if it's coming from bot and stuff like that. And a lot of times, some people just code nonstop for like 10 hours, 16 hours because they're so locked in. And Anthropic literally thinks that they're like a bot, which is kind of insane. And so they'll like actually ban their account. So just beware when you're using a proxy. You know, they do like technically allow and stuff like that. It's not like there's no technological thing that's actually slowing you down from doing that. So technically, yes, you can do that. But yeah, that's as FYI. Opus 4.5 thinking plus Codex subagent MCP with Codex Max ultra high thinking. Yeah, that's pretty cool. To be honest, Opus 4.5 is extremely powerful, but for those who don't know, it's already now a 2x multiplier. So if I go into Droid, and I'll show you the cost. Let's say model. So if you go into model now, the Opus 4.5 is going to cost you 2x the price. So it was 1x for the last week, and now that ended. If we do Codex Max, that's now 0.05x. And then you can do Droid Core GLM 0.25. So that makes your tokens go that much further. For example, if I just wanted to chunk things out and say, can you chunk this into phases, like very small detailed phases, I can tell Opus to chunk out the work. And then I could just say, now I'll change the model to GLM Droid Core and then just let it implement and then just, you know, have Codex Max verify the work or something like that, or whatever flavor you want to do. You have a lot of different combinations. So I'm just going to kill this one here. And so, yeah, to me, I find Opus to be really, really good. And what's nice about Droid is that like it's really just going to focus its context window efforts and all the agent management stuff on the plan and the next task and the next task. So in essence, it's kind of managing that context window for you so that you don't have to keep creating new chats and you can just kind of stay in flow, which is really cool. So dependencies installed. Let me create a Convex config. Cool. So now it's just moving on to the Convex phases. Let me update the schema. Okay, so it's just moving through our plan here. This is awesome. There's quite a bit of phases, as you can see, and we'll be doing this. I don't know why Opus 4.1, maybe because it's still on Anthropic's website, it's still kind of that same pricing too. So I think they're just passing that along. Can we talk about some design systems? Sure. I mean, let me know. Let me know what you're cooking with. As of right now, I call it the YOLO design system. It's like whatever's in my head, I'm just trying to like yap into the computer. And yeah, I guess so. That's kind of the way I'm working with. Let's see. Do you find the quality output of Opus 4.5 is better with Droid right now? Yes. I use Opus in Cursor Agent and Open Code, but Droid does sometimes feel like output is better and lacks tool calling. So that's actually the reason why I prefer to use Opus inside of Droid, is because it actually feels that much smarter. And I've used the same model, the same requests. And if you see my previous live stream, I have it linked in the description on YouTube. It doesn't give me the same results inside of Cursor. And it feels like the model doesn't have enough like running room to do more things that it wants to do. And I find that a little bit strange. And I don't mind it, but if I have very prescriptive tasks, like something that's so narrowly scoped and say, I need you to go update this function and add these specific things, all of them will do it. Cursor will do it fine. Droid, like open code, you know, it doesn't involve like a lot of multi-step reasoning type of things. But as soon as it involves like planning, heading off to a plan, and then kind of keep following to things, that's where I feel like it's really quick to want to write the code and get out as soon as it like compiles or whatever. And it doesn't really want to spend more time in that specific section of code to think things through as if it was like a diligent engineer. And so that's the difference that I see between like the Cursor and the Droid part of it as well. So this wants to do something that's in my deny list. Let me go and see what's going on here. So let me see. All right, so run the deny list. Let's see. We're going to remove the node module caches. Why? Because something's going on. That's a good idea. I forgot about that. Okay, let me just do that myself. And then reinstall. Bun install. Okay. I just did that. So, okay. I'm very curious to see. I'm always like, it's going to pipe it out to dev null, and then it's going to run my command, and it's going to, okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Now I should be good. It's going to technically just go ahead and rebuild everything because I just have it from cache. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. There's a video that's actually out on X right now, or actually it's a screenshot where somebody's whole directory or computer got wiped on one of these commands because it said allow. I never allow like full on like dangerously, create permissions. Like I always make sure that like RM commands are always something that I review. Stuff like that happens. It's kind of crazy. Even if you do review it, sometimes it's kind of confusing. So just FYI. Okay, so what do I can actually see the TypeScript. AI SDK uses start second instead of start end. Let me fix these. Oh, I should also tell it. I can interrupt it, by the way. Use ref MCP and exa code MCPs to look up the AI SDK V5 docs and how we can use it inside of Convex. That way you have a grounding for the source of truth. Okay, cool. Here we go. Awesome. So now it's going to actually do the actual stuff here. So what happens in Droid is basically I just threw it into the middle of the chat, and then it receives that for the next message. And because it's kind of working on this part of the code, it's able to now take the next step and kind of do that autonomously without breaking everything. Super cool. It'd be crazy if we ship this feature just in one chat like this. That'd be insane. So yeah, first time here. Your office is really dope. Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Actually, I'm actually just here in my spot here in California. I try to like make it a little bit more festive and stuff. We got the OpenAI sticker on the water bottle. For those who don't know, there's also like, this is actually my Apple Watch bottle, but shh. And then we got the coffee as well. We got the vibes. This is my California vibe setup. And then I have like a Hawaii vibe setup for those who aren't familiar. So definitely thanks to you so much for stopping by. Would you ever be a co-founder with one of us asking for me? If you liked what we created, I'm sure the best way is to actually push your project out in the world and not lose money on it. Right now I'm not really doing co-founding stuff. Right now I'm spending a lot of time just building my app, my software, talking to customers. I'm really focused on RayTranscribes because for those who don't know, I created this app because I was a content creator, and it literally like one of my friends who does XO Labs. Let me go to X right now. My X account's probably blowing up. I have a post that's going viral, and people, it's basically talking about why I stopped wearing my Apple Watch, and I'll get into that in a second. But I think the post has already done how many millions of views? Let's see. 600. 668,000. This is insane. Okay, so EXO Labs. So I filmed this video for my buddy, where I was at his house, and they hooked up all of these Mac Minis. So we ran the Llama 405 B model on, I think it was like two MacBooks. And when we filmed the video, and we tied them together because he actually, like the XO Labs teams were the ones that came up with this technology so that you can actually send the language model, weights around to all the different machines and do inference. There were a lot of people working on this, but these guys kind of really nailed it down. And like I filmed it for them, and he's like, hey, we need to have actual captions and subtitles. And I was like, and so we were looking around, we couldn't find anything for that stuff. And so we found a project. And it just took so long for everything to kind of work. And then like I wrote a version. If you could just look up, let's see, GitHub at Ray Fernando 1337. So on my GitHub, I forked that project, and then I made a version with Apple MLX. So you can use a free version of this. And so I just wanted to learn the Apple MLX framework, and I just saw that they had Whisper and a bunch of stuff. So this one basically allows you to do the same, but it's all done through command line. And then I made a little Python interface where you can just drag the file and do it here. there are a lot of limitations because your computer has to be pretty powerful to run the model. So if you're running like a 6-hour live stream, that can take you almost like 45 minutes to transcribe or more because it's using all the resources on your local machine. And so it takes a long time, all your GPUs and everything spin up. And you can definitely get that installed and set up here. But a lot of people through this became a very popular repo. Were asking for Windows versions. And so I was like, what is Windows, bro? I don't even do Windows. And I thought, okay, this is a good time to actually get this all set up, on the web. And that's kind of how RayTranscribes was born. I started literally on a live stream and like vibe coded this in one shot. And the reason why I was able to do it is because I did a ton of research beforehand and, look up some like WebAssembly modules and various things because I wanted to do on-device processing, but do it on the web so it works on Mac and PC and all these little details of stuff. But I just kind of quickly just built it, on streams and made it look, I kind of made it look probably easier than what it really is. But some of the best apps look really easy and they're actually much more harder to implement because there's a lot of attention to detail that you have to do. So yeah, that's basically what I did. And now it's like super fast. Like I can process transcripts as much as I want. I have a little dictionary of words. And this is kind of what I discovered with my app is that if you actually put the right exact spelling of the keywords, like, VO 3.1 exactly, ShadCN like this, DeepSeek, people are typing these specific keywords into Google and the AI language models. Also, when you're gapping into ChatGPT, it's going to look up these specific words, exactly how they're spelled. And if those are spelled correctly in your transcripts, your videos start ranking on all these platforms just by accident. I go live 2 hours later, my video is showing up on Cloud Code, like automatically. And they already have, the timestamps and things. So that's kind of what I discovered. It's like, oh, actually, not only do I need transcriptions, but now this is actually something that is very useful to content creators, but other people in the world who want to get their stuff out there. You literally create videos. And there've been people who've joined my Discord. I gave them access. They're like making games or whatever, and they have specific keywords to their game. And they start ranking because they actually have the correct spelling of their in their transcript. So yeah, like it's super cool. And I've really enjoyed the process of making this app, but it's super fast and super useful. So yeah, I'll show you what this looks like. So we'll take my live stream. This was 3 hours. I'm going to show you this 3-hour live stream. We're just going to do this one. And so it's going to process this. And so this is doing the on-device processing. And this is basically, using the browser to make sure that the file's processed and ready so that we can kind of set it up with the right audio chunks to the provider so they can do the transcription. So that's kind of the way it is. What is Windows? Yeah, I'm serious, bro. I'm serious. Wait, what you see on the dashboard, is that consumed already? No other math is needed? I'm not really sure. So if I see on Droid that I use 5.8 million and was using GPT-5 Codex Max, which is 0.5, does that mean it's only half? That's correct. Or does it mean that math is on the fly or is using double the tokens? So it just means that you're using half. So if you see 1 million tokens, you only get charged for half of them. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's FYI. So that's what's up. For generating beautiful mobile app UI, App Store screenshots, with which model do you recommend right now? So I don't have a lot of experience right now on a mobile app UI design. I would just say go ahead and spend some time looking at your favorite websites for inspiration and try to work from those. And then try to see if you can build like a design framework for what you're wanting to accomplish. Sometimes like you can just browse, I think it's like I use aura.build. But you can just get inspired by scrolling through different pages and picking up different elements and then figuring out like, what is it that your app does? Like, do you just need simple little things like this? You want to like take a look at these little attention to details. Contrast is important. Fonts are really important, but just stick to one font, stick to one hierarchy, stick to what like one specific task that you want to accomplish and just see if you can do that really, really well. So you can see that this 3-hour transcript got split up into 4 chunks and boom, just like that, we're done. Like all that whole thing got transcribed. Insane, right? You can download the transcripts and you can view the SRT files and everything like that just from here. So when you pop them up, you just have them all available. So this goes all the way down. So yeah, that's 20,000 plus lines in a file, all done, from that video file, right? So like that's usually this would take forever. And so if you want to like edit it, you can go ahead and edit it here. I do the editor preparation, and loading this stuff into memory in the browser is also usually a pain in the butt. So it's been really fun to kind of figure this stuff out from all these different. I'm probably going to break my app, but no, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I even save versions and everything. You can edit timestamps. You can edit the actual text for these things and do stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Definitely check it out. RayTranscribes. And that's why I'm kind of adding features and stuff and doing these things per my users. Let me see. Would you like me to continue with phase 2? Okay, so let's see what happened. Okay, now I have my source of truth. Okay. My fix to use is correct. Let me verify. Okay, both providers look correct now. Let me run Convex to verify everything completes. Convex compiles. Phase 1 complete. Okay, here's what we implemented on the AISDK documentation. So we did the rate limiter thing. We added the schema. We had the types for the interfaces for providers. Grok SDK wrapper using experimental transcribe. Nice. Deepgram AI SDK with diarization support. Great. Rate limiter configuration. Extended. Okay. And then we have the full migration plan. Damn, that's a lot of stuff. I'm just going to do /cost real quick. So far, we've used 2.2 million tokens. So this was from the previous session from my previous day, and basically continuing off with that, right? So I spent so much time in the planning phase, and I made sure that all these little details were nailed down. And then, I wish I would have been able to run this before I ran the thing, but as of now, that's pretty much what it cost me. You see, it basically cached 4.9 million tokens. So I'm not getting hit with that. And sometimes people don't explain that when they're using like a third-party provider or a third-party like model provider too, is that they don't have caching enabled. So you're actually going to spend, that much more tokens just reading the files, sending them to the language model for processing and having them come back instead of having them cached on the language model end. So that's an interesting thing. So let me just see if I can review some of the work here as well. So damn, there are a lot of files. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this thing here and get rid of this plan. All right, so we have a new Convex config for the rate limiter, which is here. Here's the actual rate limit file. So per user transcription limits based on the subscription tier, and then per provider API limits are shared across users to respect the provider limits. Okay, so we have 10 transcription jobs per hour. I'll probably want to bump that. Allows burst of 5 jobs if they haven't used a quota recently. Okay, and then the creator tier of 30 transcriptions per hour and a burst of the 10 jobs. Yeah, I'll probably want to bump these as well per provider, but like I'll keep them low just to test the actual things and see if they actually work, right? Here's a limit for Grok, allows 100 requests per minute for transcription using shards for concurrent user scaling. So this looks pretty cool. So now we have like a per provider limit. So that means people who are hitting my app now, I don't have to, like this configuration is already set up inside of Convex as a component. And the language model already knew about like the rate limiter component because of the research that it did. And then it knew about all the code in my app. And that's how important the spec planning is. As it got to that step in writing the code, we can already see how well thought out this is. I didn't have to, at each step of the way, create a new chat and say, okay, make sure now you do this. Make sure now you do that. Like, I would forget after a couple different chats, to be honest. So nice, right? I think it's flying through. I'm reading through this. I was like, this is beautiful. I like this a lot. Anti-abuse limits, global rate limit for unauthorized requests. This is really great. Here's a fixed window. Failed transcription attempts per user. Okay. Get the rate limit name for user subscription tier. This is awesome. And then get the rate limit name for a provider. Great. And then time constraints for the convenience. Oh, it's gorgeous. Schema. Let's see what the schema changes are. This is for the user preferences. So I know which specific model they've used. And then AISDK V5 provider tracking. So we have these things here. And whether the diarization was enabled. Perfect. Cool. And then AISDK V5. And then I think what I might also do is add a version parameter. So that way I can track these requests for the users because I'm using a new, whenever I'm making like an API change, especially on the back end, I want to try to version these off. And the reason why I try to version them is because if there are new conventions that I'm using, like diarization, rewriting the entire backend now with AI SDK V5, any assumptions I made in my code, I want to keep those in different versions. So that way, if I saved a file with a specific schema or specific things to when I was writing code from that era, I want to make sure that going forward, I don't have to keep accounting for that. I could just do, hey, everything from version 3 and later, we're going to just do this. So all you have to do is check for that and then we're good. Otherwise, I have to keep writing more code to keep, all the legacy stuff still there. So the quickest way is just to say, let's go ahead and just add a new, row or something in my database and say, this is V3. Everything from here on out will be tied to that. So any requests that we done will have this, extra tag in it in our internal tracking for our stuff. So if you're thinking about your architecture or whatever, things like that, don't forget that type of stuff. It's so fast when we're writing code, especially production code, that you can really quickly add in features by accident and then figure out you broke a legacy flow. So yeah, that's funny. What's also weird is back in the day, legacy used to mean like several years, like 2 years, 5 years or more. And now legacy literally feels like a month. So yeah, let's see. So now we have this is just their own Convex's thing. So it added this new file for deepgram, and this is how I'm going to process the deepgram file. So we're going to have a map, extract speakers. So we're going to still implement these. It has little to-dos. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is not yet implemented. Check for the rate limits. Okay. Classify the errors. Oh, interesting. I don't even know if I have to do this. I think this could be too much work. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, okay, Grok provider. So I used to have this code in a separate file. Now it's actually kind of pulling them into their own files. I also find that it's repeating a lot of code. You can see this code is also repeated from what we were looking at earlier in deepgram. And so I don't know if I actually need all this type of code repeated in these different places. So I'm going to try to iterate on that as well. I try to catch this stuff as soon as it comes up, or just kind of like code sniff it. Let's see. Okay, so transcription mode. I'm going to check the code changes in because this is what we have so far. I'm just making sure I'm in the right branch here. Okay, cool. And this is kind of like your first draft, right? It's really messy, but I'm going to make sure it gets checked in. We have stuff there and I don't really want to lose it just in case, right? So this is there, and then I'm going to try to see if I can give Droid to give it some feedback and stuff like that. Okay, so what does it say? So would you like me to continue unified action preferences? Okay, so what I have now is, okay, phase 1, here's what we implemented. Okay, so, all right, so, okay. I did a review of the code, and I noticed in the deepgram and the Convex files, you have a lot of repeated code for some of these error cases. What I want you to do here now is to use ref MCP and execode MCP to look at the way that AISDK V5 handles this already for us. I feel like we wrote too much code here, and we may actually have to write less code or refactor that out and have a cleaner convention for everything. And I'm just going to send that over. So now I'm basically just telling Droid in this very like sort of obscure way. This is the reason why I like to use the Opus model as well, because the Opus model will sort of get and imply based off all the context. So I don't have to go and explain every little detail here. And so this is, you're right. And it's like, I wonder if they fixed that you're absolutely right stuff. But yeah, so we're taking a look at that. And then what I'm basically going to do is just probably programmatically go through some of these things that I also saw for code sniffs that look really weird and make sure I didn't miss anything. So, okay. That's that there. Okay. Excellent research. The AI SDK has built-in error handling and retry logic. That makes our custom code redundant. Exactly. See, that's why I like the AI SDK. So there's max tries. AI automatically retries with exponential backoffice too. There's also the, it says the API call error has status code, is retriable, and response body already built in, which is nice. And then the retry error is thrown when all retries are exhausted and it contains error in the last error. So no transcription error is already generated with this method. So our classify and our classify functions are already completely redundant. So let me refactor and leverage SDK's built-in capabilities. This is cool. So one of the reasons why I give it the 2 MCPs is because the documentation will reveal them. And there's currently like an LLMs.txt file for that whole documentation. It is so large that what ends up happening is you flood the context window, and it's really hard for the agent to kind of work from that. And what the use ref MCP does is it'll go find very specific chunks of what it needs from the documentation and pull that in. And so it's much more context efficient, and you're able to get like really, really good accuracy on things. It feels like you're the one that's kind of going through like an encyclopedia, going to that index for that specific thing, and then grabbing those files out. And then Xcode can do a much broader search, either in GitHub repos, Discord chats, all these different places to kind of fill in the details for helping guide the agent on what it should be doing, or maybe specific code implementations, which can work as examples. So LLMs do really good work if they also see examples of code. So that's why the two together combined is phenomenal, because sometimes the documentation can tell you what a function does, but it doesn't really have a code example. So that's where Xcode does that extra work. And it's all really fast and token efficient. And I have a video on that if you want to check that out. Go ahead and check that out. There's like it's like 2 of my favorite MCPs that I use and love all over the place. So that's what's up. So now we have those 2. Let me simplify and remove the redundant. Okay, so we did that. Okay, so what did we do? Compile successfully. Here's the comparison. Okay, what we removed. It removed all these things. So redundancy, interface. Okay, yep. And AISDK gives us the stuff for free. So the providers are now thin wrappers that just handle the segment format mapping and language normalization. All error handling retry logic is delegated to the AISDK V5's battle-tested implementation, which is very true to some degree, because it's currently experimental. It's not actually finalized, but we're just going to have to test this live, which is part of the reason why you do stuff in development, right? So here we are. This is the code now that it's removed. So this is great. So now our second pass has removed that code that we generated, right, from the first pass of the model. And so look at that. This is great. This is great. Error handling is delegated, and even throws a comment in there about that. So now when we're passing in transcribe in the deepgram, let me just go to deepgram. Hold on. I'll show you real quick. This is also how I learned to use the AI SDK, by watching the language models fix themselves. Right? You'll see enough of these patterns over and over, and you're like, okay, wait, no, that's not how it works. And then you can yap that back to the model. So that's another thing. Like, you don't have to be an expert that's super deep in this framework. You just have to know enough to know what questions to start asking. And if you don't know, you'll start to figure out as you get into the practice of doing these things. And so let's see, max retries, 5-minute timeout, good. And then yes. So when I call transcribe now, I'm going to call it for transcribe with deepgram as a function in my app. That's cool. And then I'm going to pass in the audio URL, the model ID, the language, and whether it should be diarized or not. So those are the arguments I'm going to pass in. This is cool. I'm just trying to understand how this code works, right? So when I do transcribe, this is what I'm passing in, and I promise a transcription result. That's cool. Okay. And so the result will basically be return result text segments, what language I use, the duration, and the provider. Okay, the model ID. And we still have it to do here. Extract the speaker info when AISDK exposes diarization data. That's cool. So maybe I should write a doc that says, what are the to-dos that we still have yet to implement? Because I think this can kind of get lost too. Okay, so provider options are deepgram. And then these are the options that I pass in. So provider options is built into the AI SDK. And you can see this is shared v2 provider options. You see even like a good framework like the AI SDK does these versionings in their functions too, because it helps them with their legacy code. So the auto record is keyed by provider name, and the inner record is keyed by provider specific metadata key. So in provider options, the first key we pass in will be the provider OpenAI, in this case deepgram, and it's all lowercase. And then we pass in whatever options we want for that specific model. So this is a really nice way of working with like a nice meta framework like AISDK, and that's kind of what it gives us. So we just log this. Okay. And as far as our model selection, this is kind of what we're going to expose for our models. So that's cool. Let's look at Grok and let's see what it did here. So now with Grok, we have a normalization of the language. So we have basically a language map. And then over here, we have, what are we returning? Map AI segments in our format. transcribe audio using Grok via the AI SDK. So similar to our DeepGram one, and then these are specific to the Grok provider. So we're passing in the language and then whether we want verbose, JSON for our formats. And then this is this stuff here. Okay, it looks pretty cool. And then here are some of the types. All right, this is looking pretty good. I like this a lot better actually. So yeah, these are nice changes. Removed lots of code, which is great. And a lot of the stuff's already built into the SDK. So this is awesome. I'm gonna make this change here. Okay, let me get commit. All right, cool. This is looking pretty good so far. Okay, so let me just go ahead and review some of the other changes that we did here on the graph. So on the graph, I don't think I need this one yet. Okay, so here's our config for the rate limiter. This looks pretty good so far, I think. And then the DeepGram stuff we already reviewed, and the Grok stuff we've already sort of reviewed. And the types, what's going on with our types? So this is just for Convex. Okay, model configuration with the details. Okay. Awesome. And then the rate limits. And then the schema. Okay. This is looking pretty good. Okay. Nothing too, I wanted to do version numbers. So, okay, that's what I wanted to yap back at it. Okay, I'm gonna do that right now. Before I forget. This is why I try to review things again, because I forget stuff and I don't want to move too far before I go too far with my next phases. Since this is a pretty big change, I have something in my code that keeps track of versions and requests so that we can make sure that any new features we add on are tied to version 3. Wait, hold on, let me just again. I currently have in my app something called V2, and it'll keep track of requests that are sent so that in our database we can see everything that's being used for the new Vercel Blob and Vercel migration. Since this is a next big step, we should probably call this version 3. And then let me see if I can find that file real quick, because I think there is one in my dashboard data. I think it's under the job. I forget the name. See this, I haven't worked in this specific part of the code for a while, but I'm just going to look this up real quick. Completed chunks. There's like version. Oh yeah, format version. Format version. So what I do is the edit button is only available for format version 2 blob storage. Aha. Okay. So I expose this in the UI via format version key from Convex like the following as an example. So in some ways, what I wanted to do, I've already checked in the code so that way I don't make any more modifications. So now I'm just telling the agent to kind of take a look at this and sort of start to review my code. I should have probably asked it to be more explicit, but I'm hoping that it'll probably pick up on these instructions. It's usually pretty good at picking these types of things up. So that's going to be what's up. Good idea. Let me understand the current versioning system and add V3 for the AISDK integration. Sweet. This is going to be awesome. So now it's going to look for a format version with grep, and then it found it, and then it's going to go to my schema, and it's going to basically say, here's a version tracking thing we want to do. Inline legacy, blob storage, and now we're doing multi-provider things. So we're going to do, where is it going to change this in the schema? We'll see. Oh, okay, cool. So all it's doing is adding a comment, and then we don't have anything yet in the UI, but as we have stuff in the UI, this is where it's going to be really important, because there are going to be changes where I said in my UI that speech diarization, premium models, like all these different concepts for retrying are going to be tied to this version format. So I just want to make sure that if for whatever reason I break something or I need to, like something that gets pulled back in my history has version 2, that it's somewhat compatible going forward, and I'll be able to kind of expose itself this way. So that'd be interesting. Okay, cool. So this is just an update to the plan and these types of things right here. Okay, cool. Nice. Awesome. Hello, Ray. Would you recommend use Droid instead of Claude Code? I have a 20x plan and I'm kind of a pro user in Claude Code, and I would like to know why Droid is better. So if you're already in, I would say if you're already in a flow and you're already working with Claude Code and it works really good, you're good with that. The advantage right now of Claude Code is they give such a really, like with the latest Opus models, it's like really, really intelligent, and they provide like a lot of inference for it. So you can keep using it for a very, very long time. It seems like the rate limits, people aren't really hitting a lot of rate limits, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely stick with that. If you haven't tried Droid yet, you can try it and you'll start to see for yourself like how awesome it is to just work in one specific session. My style is just to kind of get everything nailed down into a plan. And the part that I hate the most is having to hand off chats and having to remember all these different phases of work that I need to do. And then once I have because all of these things, each of these requests that I've been doing throughout this entire session would have easily already been 5 to 8 chats by now, right? So the first chat for the first phase for the rate limiting, and then fixing rate limiting stuff, and then the next thing. And you can kind of see how I can start losing track of where the app is at versus kind of delegating that more to the agents. And then you say, okay, well, why don't you just hand that off to sub agents and so forth? And Claude Code is like, yes, you can. I feel like sometimes they also lose track of the status of each other or the status of the big overall plan. And it does take some work, and I will be trying to actually force myself to do that. I was going to try Open Code and Claude Code again for other plans going forward, just to wrap my head around it and see how much the workflows have improved. But that's kind of the difference here. It's like I feel like I could just flow and I could just continue the session, and whatever context that's relevant will still stay anchored in Droid. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just the context compression and the anchoring system that they have to go back to different phases of your plan to grab relevant files. And the caching efficiencies are really great. So that's what's up. Let's see. Okay, so conversation history has been compressed. Okay, here's the format for the versioning. Now we have, with version history, we have this. When we wire up the unified transcribe action, it will set the format version 3 on the completed jobs, allowing you to feature gate premium UI elements. Great. So if the format version is 3, then track which provider model was used for analytics and support new multi-provider fallback chains. This is awesome. This is so awesome. Okay, cool. So here's the documentation that was updated. It added a lot more documentation. Cool. Oh yeah, so it actually did the documentation with the stuff and probably did some things. Okay, so let me add these in. So here's the format version. This looks great. And then this is the schema, just adding a comment here. And I think we're good. I'm just going to make sure I add that in. Cool. Yeah, can't come close to hitting, loving it while it lasts. This is what they do. This is a drug dealer formula number 1. Let you get a sample of that super high Opus thing. Just go crazy. Talk to me next month. Let me know if they still keep those limits high. No, I have a feeling they said that these are the new limits, by the way, for Claude Code. So they aren't messing around, that they said that these actually are the Opus limits for 4.5. So whatever we're experiencing now, according to the person who, I forget the guy's name, he posted on X. I have receipts. So we'll see. We'll see. I know a lot of people are switching to Claude Code. I love I'm going to need to try that next. I'm still hoping for my warp cursor droid in Claude Code multi-tenant. Bro, that'd be fire, bro. That'd be so crazy. So yeah, that's what's up. Let's see. Okay, cool. What are your favorite MCPs that you can't live without? I have a video on this. If you want to go ahead and check it out on my channel, ref.tools, exacode. Check those out on my video. Just go to my channel, Like it's actually already got 20,000 views on it right now. Absolute killer. I can't, you see how I am doing this live stream? I can't live without it. Like it just looks at the AI SDK, all that stuff. Super token efficient, MVP all the way. Okay, so now what do when we wire up? Okay, cool. So this is an interesting thing. Will the droid remember these little instructions about this when it comes to wiring these parts up when we do the create transcribe? Okay, so are we ready? Okay, I want you to review the to-dos in the latest implementation. And update the documentation. What's the document that I wrote? Or not that I wrote, that the agent wrote. So it is AISDK V5 integration. Yes. Okay. And update the... Okay, cool. So I'm going to let it take a look at that real quick. So right now we're basically, when I was scanning through the code, I saw a lot of these to-dos, and I want to make sure that the agent does not miss them. And so in essence, having it basically force itself to go through these types of things and take a look at these files. And so Opus 4.5 is amazing, better than 5.1 Codex, 1000%, 1000%. Anthropic is aware of the competition in the coding space and is very real now. Having a back, oh, that's right. I forgot about Google. Yeah, so Google's also their thing as well. So yeah, invalid promotion code. Please try again without code or use new code. So yeah, the Droid team basically has probably killed the official like 200 million tokens that I had available. So, or no, was it one? No, it was 40 million tokens, 20, no, it was 20 million tokens. I had a link for people to sign up for Droid. They sponsored my live stream almost like a month and a half to 2 months ago. And at that time, you know, I negotiated saying, hey, my community needs to get more tokens than usual. So they had that out there. And I think they probably just got an insane number of people who signed up. And I said, hey, it's only valid for a limited time, you know, and it was only really for that weekend. And I was able to talk to them a little bit more to try to see if they can extend it. And I think it's already past that point. So people who are signing up right now using that link are getting this error. So yeah, I think if you sign up and then put a credit card in, you go from like 1 million to I think 10 million tokens. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that. Yeah. Convex has an agent component. Maybe you should look into that. Oh, I got 40 million. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Got another week to use it. Okay. Oh, you probably signed up while it was still valid. People were signing up recently and they were saying it's not valid. But if I could check with the team again and see if they're still like letting it fly or not. But like, yeah, that's what's up. So, okay. So updated the migration doc. Let's see, what do we have here? I just want to see. Partial phase 2. Okay. So it did get into phase 2 and it did some partial work. The code to-dos are extract the speaker info and then technical notes. Okay. So what I wanted to do for this next phase is to look up any documentation that it needs before we proceed to the next phase to make sure we're still on track. Okay. Use ref tools for search and exa code MCPs to look up any of the documentation you need to begin the next phases of work. I said S, next phase of work. Okay, next phase of work. So I'm going to let it do its thing right now. All right. I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. While this is going, I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, yo, yo. We back. We back for real, for real. All right, cool. So this is going to be doing its thing. Let me just kind of catch up. What was the reason of Anthropic acquiring Bun? For tooling and the talent. Jared is amazing, amazing engineer. There are so few people who care so much and so deeply about the tooling that they're really willing to work for 7 years, lose all his hair just to make the actual like compiler, runtime, everything work better than Node, bro. Like it's like NPM. If you ever use NPM, it's kind of a hot mess, but everyone has always been like, everyone will complain, but no one will sit down, lock in and work for 7 years straight. My guy worked every single day for hours and hours and hours on end. And it's the type of people you need who care that much, who can get stuff done. So when you have someone like that, who's already proven themselves and like it actually already works and like it's a proven thing in the ecosystem, as the AI agents have now entered this new phase of being super important in our lives, right? They run into the terminal, they need their own runtime. You know, these agents need to run on a machine, and they not like every single cycle of the things that you do actually count. And so one of Jared's big things that he actually preaches is that like you're usually not blocked at like some like CPU threshold level, you're blocked usually like at a syscall level. So like when the system is doing the call to like write the specific file, that API and that attention to detail actually matters, like right down to the very, like literally going down the entire part of the stack. You know, when I say write a file, what happens, right? So he's like, okay, Node, it does this in this environment, you know, and then what are they calling, right? Like, what are they calling on the system to do that? You know, am I waiting on a CPU cycle? Like, where is that happening then at the kernel? Like in Mac OS, like what is the kernel calling to write a file, right? Like, how is it doing that? Like at those really low levels, right? Can I do a different system call instead of that one that's probably faster? And a lot of times you find all these different techniques because of just like opportunities that no one chose to explore. They're just like, whatever, no one really cares. But he cares, and he cared for 7 years straight. And that big difference is why Bun is why it's so freaking amazing. I've been using it since the beginning of my streams. I was like, I Bun everything for a lot of those reasons, right? Like it's really fast. It's great. It works really well. So now with that background aside, having this cracked engineer who cares about those level of details, you put them in this new agentic world because it's already sort of crossing that boundary. These agents are going to perform way better when they have those lower level fundamentals working right. And I want to give you a good example of that. Guess who's really good? ShadCN. So ShadCN as a UI system is literally the AI SDK, like the AI's way of seeing the world and making software. The reason why we have so many of these apps and why it works so well is because it was such a great framework for design and engineering to begin with, right? If you create a system for design, like, and it's visible in all these different places, when the language model goes for training, it has so many different perspectives all across the actual like latent space in some ways. So it has concepts of UI in all these different areas, and that's super helpful when it's now going to write UI for you in your apps. And so the same goes with Jared's work, right? So if you're having an AI system that's going to be in all these different places, in order for it to perform really well, you need someone who's actually paid attention to those lower levels of details. So going forward, what no one's going to be talking about in the last half of 2020, really like last decade of 2025, so 2026, 27, 28, 29, all the way into 2030, is anyone who can go really crazy at the lowest fundamental frameworks. So these AI systems can hook right into. So if you have a really rich feature set of things, those can actually hook in. You know what's really funny? Apple is sort of going to fall into AI, whether they realize it or not, because the AI systems that everyone is building up on top over here will get so smart that once they can just put them into their existing code bases that have been so mature for the last 30 years, it's going to have a lot of already really good hooks into how like stuff works at the like lowest levels, from, you know, the CPU cycles, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, like all this rich data set of stuff. Right now, the language models aren't proficient enough to keep the context going long enough. So that's kind of like my long spiel of like getting important people like Jared on your specific parts of the stack, especially for a team like Anthropic. Now you have this amazing cycle that can like propel your company like way above so many other people, even faster, because you have all these things hooked in. So it's beyond like the actual bun thing, but it's more about like the talent and that willingness, and those types of people that he's found that can dedicate their lives for something like this is pretty much unbeatable. Zuck can go try to post them, but they know that like, I don't know what those fools are doing over there. Like, it's not like, you know, like, I don't know. If you're an engineer and you're doing serious work, you know the serious companies that are doing that, and you know the people you need to be with, because those people actually care. So that's my long rant on that. But I feel like that kind of perspective isn't really well shared online. And I got to put that out there. So that's what's up. Back to building, right? So yeah. That's the bun in a nutshell, if you know what I mean. Okay, cool. So let's see what happened here. I have all the, okay, so I wanted to give it some research priming before we begin the next task. Let me look at the existing process action, and I have the research needed. So the API call error, check if it has status code. Okay, good. And then the convex rate limiter. Okay. So now I'm ready to implement phase 2. Should I proceed with creating these? Yes. Okay, let me just make sure I have all the documentation checked in. Okay, wow, this is pretty detailed. This is now the new planned migration plan modified. We modified a lot of files. Why is it? Sure. I don't know if we did this. Interesting. Okay, submit. Okay. Yes, please proceed. Okay. It was awesome to see you with Cole yesterday as a collab. Hey, thanks, man. Bro, Cole is amazing. Like the amount of detail that Cole Medin does for his, I was just so blessed. He went through an insane amount of detail. He even integrated the linear thing at the last minute, which is amazing for those who are wondering. So before I was using like Droid pretty heavily, like, you know, someone in my Discord, or who actually just joined the Discord, his name's Coriolis, put me onto linear as a chief technical officer. And he does a lot of this like program management stuff. And, you know, like I've known I had to do these different Kanban boards, and I've even made my own documentation flow, but he's like, dude, just use linear as like an MCP. And so that's how I got put onto that. And it was really amazing to kind of see Cole take that information a while back and then kind of take that to heart and actually start to build a process around that and then make that repo for free. So one of my goals is to probably in the next week before Christmas is to actually kind of lock in and see if I can make something that runs as like a 24-hour live stream where the agent will like build a game, and then people in the live stream can interact with the agent that's building the game to see if it can have this cool like effect of like, you know, people implementing features and the agent like listening to people. And this is cool because you can do that with this framework, and I thought that would be really cool. So did you test the new plan mode in Claude Code? No, I need to test that out. And that's kind of why I was thinking today would be Droid day, and then tomorrow maybe we'll work on Claude Code. How are you finding Codex Max and Droid for planning? So I prefer the plans. If I were to do a plan like in Cursor versus Droid, I would do it in Droid. And then as far as like Opus to 5.1 Codex Max, Opus all day. Like it's so much more thorough, and that's just kind of is what it is. I have a video that's being edited from my live stream because I did a live stream 2 days ago, and it's like a multi-hour live stream. I have chapters in there, but I do go over the flows, but it's a really long live stream because it was like a long expose of figuring this stuff out. So yeah, that's what's up. I still have to use Codex Xmax High to check Opus's work. It almost always finds edge cases and other nitpicks. So I also find there's also a deterioration too, because sometimes it can be overly prescriptive, like especially for this type of stuff. The AI SDK already has a lot of stuff that's built into here. So usually handing this off to a large language model, they'll be so excited to say, oh, you're missing all these error cases. Let me go ahead and add them in for you. And you're like, that's actually extra code that I don't really need because the actual ergonomics of the SDK handles that for me. So in essence, I need less code. So you kind of have to play around with the models. And I do like using both back and forth sometimes, especially to think through edge cases, like you say, that maybe I should implement this better, or maybe I should implement this, or, oh, I forgot about this in the UI. Of course, the other models may be able to pick those up as it tries to think through this thing. So yeah, that's what's up. I had the Twitch build the games in my head for a bit, but be very entertaining but costly. If it's Claude Code though, if I'm using my Claude Code plan, I should be able to just let it rip, right? Because I still have quite a bit of credits. Let's see what's happening here. There's some issue with my error in the API. I'm just curious. So what are we doing here? We wrote a whole new transcribe. Okay. Oh, user-friendly message. Okay. Okay, so this is a little bit of some of the repeated code issues that we had earlier. So get current user. What else are we doing down here? So user preferences for the AISDK migration. Update the user's transcription preferences. Okay, that looks cool. All right, awesome. It's looking pretty good so far. All right, and it compiles. So we're almost done with phase 2. Okay, cool. So do you prefer using the CLI or the extension in Cursor? So I use the actual CLI in Terminal, and the terminal I use is Ghosty. And the reason why I do that is because inside of Cursor, they only limit you a window of how many lines you can go back. So sometimes I want to scroll back much further and I can't see it in Cursor, which sucks. And so it's like, okay. But if I use like Ghosty, it's perfectly fine. And so Ghosty has its own, thing going on there. So that's kind of why I use that. Okay. Okay, I think we talked about that already. Cool. There's some other comments that I totally missed, but I might be kind of forgetting, but I'll probably get back to those in a bit. Yo, we got 420 people who are watching on X. Let's go. Blaze it up, y'all. This is cool. All right, let's see. Okay, phase 2 backend complete. Here's what was implemented. How is the font size, by the way? I don't know if it's readable or not, because I know I have 1080p. Should I increase the font? Is this better for y'all to read? Okay, maybe. Okay. Super random. Let's see. Okay. So unified transcription actions. So now we have rate limiting. Starters 10, and then creators 30 an hour. Provider limits. Okay. Fallback chains. Okay. AISDK handling for status codes. Rate limits. Okay. Would you like me to continue with wiring the new process transcription? So here's the remaining work. High priority. Okay, let's take a look at here. So we have the new transcribe file. So this is going to be check the user rate limit, check each provider in fallback chain, check the provider rate limit, and then call the provider AI SDK handles retries internally. Okay. On success, return result. On failure, check if it should switch provider. If all providers fail. So I guess what I want to do is understand if these errors that are coming back are a standard in the AI SDK or not. So I want to make sure I review that. It looks like it's not standardized, but I'm just really curious. I am not really sure. I'm going to stage these changes, but I'm going to ask my model here. Can you review at transcribe TS and see if the errors are something that are standard or not that we get back from the AISDK V5? Please use ref MCP to look up the AI V5 SDK. Okay, can you review the transcribe? Oh yeah. The at transcribe.ts in Convex. Okay. Oh, at transcribe. To see if the errors are. And then I think I should probably tell it about the errors that I'm thinking. The area I'm looking at is, okay, so let it go. Now I'm gonna let it do its thing for research. Okay, so let's see. What would you consider your coolest, best solo project you've taken to prod since leaving Apple? Um, I don't know. I think, well, I think it's this one, to be honest. That's kind of why I continued working on it, is because it's evolved from my simple tool to now actually other content creators are starting to use my transcription app. And then I'm actually realizing the value of having a really solid app that works back and forth. And there is some nostalgia here because this is literally like my first app that I have everything kind of tied together, from Stripe to Clerk authentication to like the backend database and UI and Next.js. Cause like I'm new to web development. Like I'm not an experienced web developer, Java and all that stuff. Like I really hate, I don't hate it actually. But it's not something I spent a lot of time with, right? Those were all kind of always in the background. And the reason why I started to take on like Next.js and these projects is because I had problems and I didn't want them to just be Python projects or just lived on a content like device with Swift. I really wanted to take this time to try to figure out, how do people ship apps on a server and everything? And then the AI wave literally came at the same time of me leaving Apple in 2023. So like that's ChatGPT and everything. And it was just perfect timing because now I'm learning a new framework, a new web thing. Like I'm applying AI to it to learn and see how things actually work. And, I have some engineering background. So now I can apply the best practices and principles and kind of combine the two together. And these projects that I've been taking on are ways for me to explore, use these models live, and build features with them, right? And I could actually see how good these language models are at implementing features in the way that I talk to it, right? So a lot of times people make these claims about how the models work. And as a human, when I go use it to get work done, is it actually useful to me or not? And that's how I do this evaluation. So this is probably like the best app I'm most proud of, because literally all of this was done, like you could say vibe coded in some ways, but like I orchestrated this code, right? Like I don't know how to write a Tailwind class to do exactly any of this stuff. I don't know how to do the Tailwind classes to make it mobile friendly. I know that there's these things you can insert to make the certain views, like when you're going wider, to do different things, but I could not tell you exactly the Tailwind class and specific thing to do shadows. Like I have an idea, but do I need to know? No, I shipped an app. People are buying it now, like you can do stuff like this. And so I'm very proud of this. Like this was built using AI. This was built using AI. The first versions, like it's even this all the way till now, like dark mode, light mode. It's crazy, right? Like I have all this stuff, like a database, UI stuff. It's reactive, fast as hell, taking advantage of all these different components. Like this is amazing. To me, this is amazing. It blows my mind. It looks simple, but there's a lot of stuff that's actually going on under the hood from the engineering perspective that I also got to learn and apply, and just was keeping a curious mind along the way. So that's kind of, I guess, why I'm super proud of it. So in essence, that's kind of is what it is right now. So yeah, it's my baby, and it's actually still continuing to grow. And yeah, I think for me, I just need to continue building with this type of stuff. Oh, that's right. It's 10:30. If you're in the Bay Area right now, if you head over to Stanford at Town and Country, I'm going to be there like around 11ish, because Notion is doing this pop-up. It's called Noodle with Notion. So I guess it's more for like people who are students and stuff. Let me show you right now. So there's this event that I'm going to be at right now. I got to head on out in like 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes. It's at the Stanford University thing. So if you're watching right now and you're in the Bay Area, let's go ahead and pull up. That's going to be at the Town and Country Village in Palo Alto. They say it's in the back corner parking lot. So it's taking place at 11. And there'll probably be a lot of like students and stuff there too, because I think it's more for like Notion with students, but they're going to have a bunch of cool Notion swag, like chopsticks, noodles, things that are like Notion branded. And I want to pull up. So if you're there, and by the way, I also want to do an event this coming weekend. If you haven't signed up, go ahead and check out StartMy.ai. It's free. And I'm trying to reach out to people who want to do like meetups in person, because I'm trying to do this. This is my new thing for 2026 is StartMy.ai. If you haven't dropped your name in there, let me know where you're from, where you're coming from, how far you'd be willing to drive, because I want to go all across America and meet up people in New York, San Diego, Los Angeles, Texas, like in different places, Seattle, Hawaii, like I'll pretty much like eventually I'll get to all the different states. But I feel like I got to start out in some of the big places where you're at, and let me know where you're at, and just go ahead and drop your email in there because I want to stay in touch. And right now I'm going to be heading over to Palo Alto at the Town and Country Center, and let's go ahead and hang out because that'd be really cool to kind of work on some of this stuff together. And hang out, especially if you just saw me on stream, which would be kind of wild actually to meet people that are literally watching right now in the Bay Area, and like you're gonna go over there for lunch anyways or something, and kind of be doing that. So that's what's up. I noticed this person's kind of spamming the chat, but I'll say, how do you use Droid with cursor? So basically, there is like a plugin you can use, but just using the command line, just install Droid by the command line by doing this. How to install Droid CLI. So Droid is basically a CLI like you would use for Claude Code and everything else. And so if you just do the quick start documentation here, it says install and start Droid. So all you do is just run this command. If you're on the Mac if you're on Windows, you run this one, and then you would basically get the Droid CLI installed. And then to install it, you just run, or to just run it, just go to wherever your project is, and then just run Droid. Once you're in here, pretty much just start asking away. So the first thing I would do is hit Shift Tab until you see this purple thing called spec mode. That's where you type in your requirements of what you want to actually build, feature, work, or do anything you want to do. Have it write the spec and then go ahead and do that thing. My preferred model is Opus 4.5 right now for writing these specs. Unbeatable, so damn good. So that's kind of where I would take a look at that. So that's what's up. They do have an extension, but like I said, I prefer the terminal that's outside of Cursor for now. So let's just kind of see where we're at and where we landed with this. So this compiles successfully. Now we have the types, because I forgot what my previous request was. I said, did I have it? What was my request previously? So I said, can you review if the errors are something that are standard or okay. So I was doing some error checking. That's right. In my code, I just wanted to make sure that these were like good errors and stuff. So this is what it did. So here are the error types based off the documentation now. So, okay, please try shorter fallback with provider code. Okay, so it did sort of improve these here, and it says handle retry error first, extract the last error for more details. Okay, so if the last error is an API error call, get the specific message. Okay, so that's cool. I added this extra retry thing. Okay, that looks cool. So I'm gonna check some of these changes, and this look pretty good. What do I use Droids most for? So I use Droids most for everything. I love it for spec planning. Compared to Cursor, they're kind of on the same bar, Opus 4.5 and Droid. So sometimes I'll kick off a plan on both of them and see how they work. And that's kind of why, I like whichever one works better, I just grab that plan and kind of start rolling with. Once I get that plan, I roll it into Droids because then I could just have this really long session and just kind of keep going. So that's what's up. Here we go here. I think we're going to commit. Smidge. Okay, cool. Let me go back here. Okay. Does Droid improve the context window of Opus 4.5? It manages the context window so that you can just have multiple chats and it'll stay on track because it anchors at these various points in your conversation, and it does like really smart compression techniques. So they do a lot of that. So that way you don't have to keep creating new chats for pretty much every single phase of work that you need to do. For me, I work a lot faster and I kind of stay in flow this way outside of live streaming it. So live streaming is an interesting thing because I have to kind of explain and stop and do these things. But I try to review the work as well. So handle error retry. Okay, this looks pretty good. So the note on the no transcription error, the docs show it should be importable via no transcript generated error, but the actual package doesn't export it. Our workaround for checking is correct and will work if the error is thrown internally by the SDK. Okay, that's great. So looks like we're good. So now wire the new action into process. Okay, this looks great. Can you check for any to-dos that are left and make sure we have what we need? The next step. Okay. I think it has 10 million tokens for a trial once you put your credit card in, because I think it's 1 million once you sign up for free, and then like 10 million once you get going and put a credit card in. It doesn't improve the context window. It just compresses and passes the context very well for session memory and context pass over to the next session. Yeah, that's basically what Droid does in a nutshell. Thanks, Josh. You pretty much explained it super fast. I love not having switched chats. Been using cursors, summarize a lot. Yes. Yeah. That's kind of my favorite thing. It's just like not having to switch to chats, and then I can feel like I keep going. So we're still going in this session. When this completes, I'm going to run the cost, and we're going to see how much more tokens we've used in this session. So /cost now, we'll see that we're at 5.2 million tokens. So we're going. We shipped quite a bit of features already. And let's see. Okay, cool. So this looks great. Let me check your to-dos, and it checked for everything. The code to-dos in the code base, extract speaker is deferred for now. So, and then wire into, so here's the next steps in the remaining work. So we have to replace this with this new function here. So we had a previous version. Now we're using transcribe because this is from the AI SDK. And then now I have to add the deepgram API key from into the local env variable and Convex environment. Okay, it looks good. This looks good, and for the that should only go into Convex, which I'll plan to add shortly, because the function only runs in Convex. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Okay. So ready for the next step. To wire the new action, we need to update and replace. So this was the old call. Now this is the new call. And then we have additional parameters here. This looks pretty good. Okay, we have a word list. Oh, that's right. Set the format version to 3 on the job. Track provider model. Okay. For the wiring up of the of things, can you do some more research? Use ref for search and exa code for the AI SDK and the provider deepgram. The deepgram transcription provider. Right now, I have to pass in a dictionary into Grok with the prompt, and you'll have to see how I do it in my code. My current implementation. I have to find the file and see how I do it in my current implementation. Okay, so right now I have to pass in the dictionary with Grok and prompt, and you have to find the file and see how I do it in my current implementation. We want to see how deepgram does this, and also how does the AI SDK handle this AISDK V5 handle this for Grok as well. Okay, so for those who don't know, I have a dictionary of words that are getting passed in. So the users can add words that will be added into the transcriptions, which makes your transcriptions much more accurate. So a lot of times when you say Claude code, sometimes it will show up as cloud code, or ChatGPT will say chat G and then B and then T, which is what you don't want. And so by adding in ChatGPT 5.1 or something, you'll get the exact spelling every time it sees that word. And that's actually really nice. And we can get that built in. So these providers provide that as something that you can pass in as far as a dictionary. And so I want to see, what does the AI SDK currently do in this like implementation? Do they just pass it into the system prompt, or is there a separate like actual entity or something that we pass in that we feed in directly to the object, so that at the time we do our transcription, it will have that information for us. So this is currently looking that up for us and for the different models. So we're seeing like different web searches done, and it's going to come back with some more information. So I don't know if this link works, but if somebody can let me know, that'd be so useful. rpr.me/rayfactory. So if you check out this link for the Droid stuff, I don't think it's still active, but you can try it out. I think somebody was saying that they're not able to sign up and get the 40 million tokens or something like that. I'd be curious to see if it does or doesn't. So yeah, that's what's up. No, you still have to separate isolated sessions, but if you resume or stay in the same session, then yes, it keeps all that context. That's correct. Yeah, that's what's up. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be cool. Is this /cost built into Droid, or did you? No, /cost is actually built into Droid, and that's how you're able to see it for that type of thing. Yeah, I think it was somebody was talking about this. Okay, cool. Let's see. Get some water. Oh, I gotta leave like in 1 minute or so. Because if I get there by like 11:30, I think all the stuff from Notion will be all sold out. Not sold out, but like given away. There's gonna be a lot of students. It's a Monday. Dang. Okay. Yeah, that's what's up. So I'm going to a Notion meetup right now. And the Notion meetup is going to be near the Stanford campus. So if you're in Palo Alto area, go ahead and check out Town and Country Center. There's going to be somewhere in some corner parking lot. I have no clue where. I don't think it's by GOTS. It may be in the back by Trader Joe's, but we'll see. Pull up, because if you're in the Bay Area, I'm about to be there. I'm going to be wearing the same outfit that you see me in the stream, so you'll be able to find me. Let me know when you're there. That'd be cool. I'd love to meet some of y'all who are currently there. And for those who are not in the area, go ahead and check out StartMy.ai and go ahead and sign up, because this is free. And I'm going to be doing like not only digital workshops, but I'm going to be doing workshops in person wherever you are. I'm also trying to do these worldwide. So outside of America and all the different places, I'm trying to go to the UK, Germany. I'm trying to go to different places where people are from. So let me know where you're from when you sign up. Not only have your times up, but I'm going to send an email. Just go ahead and reply back to that email. Say, hey, excited about what you do, but like also excited for you to come to whatever country. And then let me know what's up, because I want to go, where y'all are at. So that'd be really fire. So as of now, we've completed another feature here so far to do the transcriptions. Let's see what it's doing. I'm just kind of checking things here. So for DeepGram, we have provider options now that are going to be put in for the diarization. And now we added the keywords. So now we added keywords about these things. So we added key terms, and in the provider options, we are going to pass in now these things here, and then key terms. That's interesting. So they have an actual format for this. Interesting. Punctuate smart paragraphs. True. Diarize. True. Where's the keywords? I don't see keywords. Transcribe. Okay, so we have keywords here in the transcribe audio call. It's a custom for Grok passed as a prompt parameter. So the vocabulary keywords array is used by DeepGram and converted to a prompt for Grok. Okay, so Grok is the one that's going to convert the prompt. And so if it's Grok, then it's going to get the keywords and then convert that into an actual prompt. So it says custom vocabulary, and it joins them there. And so when I transcribe with Grok, this is the function that I call, and it puts that into the prompt. So it'll basically inject it into the prompt. And then for DeepGram, this actually just has the key terms just right. I just slam it right in as a parameter. That's pretty nice. Okay, so I'm glad I checked this, because this would have been like, people would complain that, hey, my keywords aren't showing up, and then finding this bug is kind of bad. Let me check this changes in before I head on out, because I need to head on out real soon. Okay, so it's not going to commit. Okay, commit. Sync it up. Okay, cool. So this looks pretty good. It will work in the process transcription. This is nice. Ready to proceed with wiring the process We're almost done. This is awesome. So now we fixed transcribe audio, and then we're going to do this here and set the format version. Okay, so there's still some more steps here to be done. /cost. We are now at 5.8 million tokens. Sweet. Awesome. Cache read of 13.4 million tokens. And the output has only been 67,000 tokens, by the way. So not a lot of output, but it's been good. We've been doing a lot of research. We've been reading a lot of files. We've been doing lots of things. That's crazy. So let's see. I've run a session of 100 million tokens, bro. Bro, that's insane. Because like this guy was asking, like, what's the theoretical limit for a single chat? 100 million tokens, bro. How are you not in the Discord, Mr. 3 Comma Club? Let's go. That's a crazy dude. Yeah, dude, that's insane. Yeah. Oh man. So the address, sorry, StartMy.ai. So StartMy, StartMy.ai. And then I'll also put it into the chat here. So that way in the chat, you can just go ahead and click the link for StartMy.ai. And you can kind of get that going and sign up there. Yeah. That's what's up. It doesn't, but it'll see the changes of the source code, not tool calls from Cursor. It's a separate terminal. I'll write the code. Yeah. Okay, cool. Man, Josh, you're totally killing it. Holy smokes. Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in. This is great. We're doing like adding a bunch of features to RayTranscribes. I'm basically rewriting it for the AISDK V5, and I still have some more work remaining to that. So I'm going to pop on either later today or tomorrow. I'm basically trying to live stream every single day for the remaining parts of December 2025. And I'm going to try to show up here in the mornings. If you're tuning in California time, probably around like 8 or 9 in the morning, I'll be tuning in, and I want to just continue to ship software, but also work on some of these other cool projects. So tomorrow I might check out Claude Code, Cursor. If there's an announcement for any language model that comes out, you better believe we're going to be live, and we're going to play with it live here. So if this is what you're into, definitely subscribe. Fernando1337. I'm also on X. I just love doing this technology. And right now I'm actually going to head to Palo Alto, check out this Notion meetup at Town and Country Center. So if you're in the Bay Area, let's go ahead and roll through. If you're not, just put your name on that StartMy.ai, and let me know where you're from. I want to do some meetups. And then I'm also planning to do a meetup this weekend. So if you're in the Bay Area this weekend, right now we're competing between San Francisco and Menlo Park. Depending on where everyone is in the replies into StartMy.ai, I will do a meetup, and we're just going to literally hang out for half the day and just do what we're doing here, vibe coding live. But that's your chance to sit down with me, ask some questions, hang out and meet some other people as well who are currently in the scene, talk about what you're building, and do all this really cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you later today. And for those at Town Country Center, definitely swing by, say hello. I'll be wearing this right here, and catch y'all later. Peace.